the biggest question I get asked isn't about the money side. It's who should we pick? And it's like, well, you're going to have to tell me who you would trust.
Right.
And a lot of the time you get this blank stare like, oh, we got to think about that.
Yeah. I'm actually curious what your bullet points are. Now I'm like, what are you trying to hit?
Literally like 30s and 40s, right?
Yeah.
Those were, I mean, I'll go back to my 30s and 40s. So like
You're still in your 40s. I don't know why you keep saying you're not.
You have a point there.
I'm like, are you serious?
Sometimes
I know how old you are.
Sometimes I forget. No, but if you think about it, so we probably had kids consider like in this generation young, right? Like
You
I was
did
30.
for sure. Yeah.
I was 30, so we had.
I was 31.
I had just turned 30, so and then the second one came along 2 years later. So it was like your 30s, like I had started in this business a few years before, and like this business, like to get ramped up in it, like it takes 3 to 5 years to like get some momentum going.
Mm-hmm.
And then your 30s, like all of a sudden, like kids come along and all this, and it's like, okay, money's starting to come in. But your focus isn't on that. It's like, how are we going to get through the day?
Yeah.
Like it's blocking and tackling, as like Steve Klosterman would always say. You're just blocking and tackling every day, just trying
surviving.
And then all of a sudden you're like, you wake up and you're 40 and you're like, oh, that was a decade gone. And they could finally go to the bathroom on their own.
And you can go to the bathroom on your own.
That's right. That's right. I forget. Moms get followed. Dads don't get followed.
What is up with that?
You tell me. I don't know.
Even when I shut the door.
No joke. Your kids probably walk up to your door like you're like, okay, it's quiet right now. I'm gonna go have a few minutes to myself. And next thing you know, Mom.
They don't even knock. They just come right in.
That's right. You do. Your youngest is called Bam Bam. So.
You are the only one that calls him Bam Bam, but he has the personality of Bam Bam.
That's right.
He's calmed down a little bit.
He has? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he's 6 now. So
if I say Bam Bam around here, I don't think half the people know what Flintstones are.
I don't think so
No.
either. Actually, my kids know what it is.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you'd be surprised.
But what was your experience like? Like you're in the middle of it still, but like we had different age kids, but like 30s and 40s, like if you think about it, like all the things that we talk about with clients, like that becomes in a way backseat.
Well, actually, I was going to say it different. I was going to say that's when it actually became important to do what JC has been telling me to do all these years and what we tell our clients to do. Oh, yeah.
You're one of the ones that I had to track down.
I actually was like, okay, I actually need to do all the things that we tell our clients to do so that I am set up for success. So I feel like my 30s, like you said, I had already been in the business for almost, 7-8 years when I turned 30. But like 7 or 8 years, I was in my 20s. I was still, doing whatever you do as a 20-year-old, having a lot of fun. I had just gotten married.
We used to call her Party Kelly.
We did. I was going to say, you're going to say it. I used to be Party Kelly. But we had, I bought my first condo on my own. Then we got married. And then it was, time to think about kids. And we started having kids. And so actually, that's when I started getting serious about, okay, what are the things that I'm supposed to do? Like we looked into life insurance. We got an estate plan. We bought a family house. So we did all the things that I feel like I had been groomed to do in the 7-8 years before, I actually started having kids. So I actually feel like I got my financial life in order in my 30s. And I feel like we're reaping the benefits a little bit right now just because we're organized. We have everything kind of in place. Mm-hmm. We are doing a good job of saving in different buckets. So I feel like my 30s was me, surviving because I have 2 little boys, but also working full time. I like to be involved in their lives too. So volunteering a lot. But also like getting our financial life in order. So kind of hitting those key things that you as an advisor teach our clients to do.
So I did all of that before kids.
That's because you're an overachiever.
Yeah. I was like, I remember we had the trust done. We had life insurance in place. Brian. And then we got into the 30s and it was like, it's still there. We had an amendment and that's about it, you know?
Yeah. No, we had done a lot of the right moves, but I feel like we got really serious about it either right before we had kids or right after.
Yeah.
So
what do you do to stay disciplined in your 30s and 40s? What did you do to stay disciplined, to remind yourself? Because you're the queen. I actually look at you and I'm like, she is on top of stuff every year. Like you have tasks and stuff that you follow.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why is Kelli asking me this again?
So for those of you that don't know, Brian is my secret like advisor. Anytime we're making like financial decisions, like he's involved. Matt, my husband, and Brian are very similar personality wise. And so we always joke that he's my husband at work, but he does. So when we're making a big financial decision, I go to Brian. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Sometimes he tells me, you're crazy. And sometimes he's like, no, I like that plan. But yeah, I do. I have tasks every year. So like for
just calendar reminders, like how do you do it?
Yeah, calendar reminders that pop up on an annual basis. So I'm looking at, hey, Brian, can you review Matt's 401k allocation?
Like that's one of the things that impresses me about like the way that you've operated is that it's like most of the time people forget about their 401ks. Like it's just like they're shoving money into them or deferring what they can. And they don't pay attention to what their options are each year. Cause it's like, it all kind of comes in. It's like, here's an email, here's all your new options. And they're like, well, I got 100 emails, and they just delete it and they move on. You are actually like more disciplined in the sense that like every year you're like, look at what the new offerings are, or if anything changed, should we make a change? Has anything changed with employment? Like that kind of thing. And you just have it like, it's like not even a thought, I don't think. It's just more of a push.
But remember, I grew up in this industry. So like this was my second job out of college. I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay.
And so I think I have a leg up on people because I talk to a lot of moms that just don't know to do that. Like, hey, let's look at like before we got married, Matt didn't look at his 401k. Like it's just whatever it was invested in. So and now some of his buddies will be like, oh, what did Kelli's advisor say to do?
Oh, that's
and
so
they make changes.
Yeah.
So that's, I think I have a leg up in the fact that I grew up in the industry. I have really good mentors at the firm. I have people that I'm following as examples, outside of the firm as well. Like we just want to make sure that we set ourselves up for success in the end. So that's why I'm so disciplined is I know what to do and then I set reminders and I actually follow through on it.
Okay.
Yeah, but what about you, Mr. Overachiever? Had everything done way before.
Okay, so this was all a timing thing. When I was going through the CFP program, remember it's all moduled, right? And so you'd learn about these things, and we had I know now it's like a completely different way they teach it in the sense that a lot of it's online.
Yes.
Well, we'd have to go to class.
Yes.
And it was 4 days a week. It was like once a month. It was intense. It was 4 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
And we did it at UCLA, but I just remember the teachers would use stories.
Yep.
And
I did it too. So I remember all the stories.
They would scare you. And it's like, okay, you're a California resident. You need to have a trust if you have more than $100,000 in assets. And if you don't, it goes to probate. And like, they just scare you immediately. And so it's like, okay, like we know estate planning attorneys, let's go get one done. Like just get something in place. And then they would talk to you about life insurance and like buying it. Like at the time I had bought 30-year policies.
Okay.
Right. And at that time it's relatively inexpensive because your risk to the insurance company is rather low. So like getting that in place when you're younger rather than waiting till like the price at 30 versus 45 is going to be a different insurance premium every year. And so it was just like following the modules. I literally was just following the modules as I went through it.
So you were doing all the steps
as I was going through it.
That's hilarious.
It's kind of funny. It was like, I'm like, well, if I'm going to learn this, I'm going to do it myself. And that's how I learned. So that was what I was doing.
So when you're in your 30s and 40s, like I think we would suggest people to get their estate plan and like what is involved in that? Like what would be the things that are like the must-haves in your estate plan?
So if you have any assets, like things that you have ownership in, accounts, or if you have a property or something like that, it depends on the state you live in.
Yep.
right? Because the state law is by state. It's not national. It's not U.S. based estate law. It's like, so California has its own probate system. You know, pick a state around the country, they're going to have different probate rules. So, like California, I'll just use that as an example. It's well known that it's a very difficult probate process.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, if people have any sort of assets, like outside of 401ks or IRAs, any sort of assets outside of that.
So think a house.
Think a house, or think like a savings account. Things like that, that you would have like a decent amount.
Even your checking account.
Checking account too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of the time you just forget about all these like little things on the side, and that's when it starts to like become a real number. But typically getting an estate plan in place, like it doesn't have to be, I have to go, you know, spend a ton of money on legal fees. If you're very basic, there's a lot of online resources that can at least get you basic docs now.
That's where we started, honestly. Yeah. We just did very basic stuff online. Mm-hmm. I think I had you review it, or Cecilia review it, and like made sure it looked okay. Yeah. And then I think as we've gotten older, we did actually sit down with an estate planning attorney to, you know, I wanted to have certain things for my kids, make sure they were taken care of.
Yeah. So like in so you have this thing called a trust that really is more dictating what the financial assets do if you title them and you actually put them into the trust. The will would be the most common thing that most people should have, because it just divides up the little stuff too. And then the other part of that is also making provisions for, if you do have children, what happens if you're gone? Who do you want to take them?
Yeah.
And
yeah, so that was really important.
That was the hardest decision, right? Is because it's trying to figure out like, okay, and a lot of the time you choose a family member or a close friend. The biggest thing I see happen now is like, if you choose a family member, let's say it's a grandparent, like, or a set of grandparents that you're like, can you make decisions on their behalf and help them? If you look and you go 10 years into that, you start to look and you're like, well, they're now like, I just pick a number. They're a lot older than they were when you made that decision.
Yeah.
And it's like, do they really want that responsibility now? Do they
can they do it? It's exhausting being a parent. And...
like a lot of the time, the biggest question I get asked isn't about the money side. It's who should we pick? And it's like, well, you're going to have to tell me who you would trust.
Right.
And a lot of the time you get this blank stare like, oh, we got to think about that.
Yeah.
So the kid aspect is the biggest. Who would take care of them? Like that's the one that seems to get most people tripped up.
Yeah. Well, I think it's too, and once you do the estate plan, you actually, I think the step there that people miss too is you actually have to register your accounts in the name of the trust too. I know I've been hearing that as like a fumble that people have done. And you actually have to go to the bank and bring your trust document and change the name because it doesn't just automatically show up there.
That's right. So if you have a trust, it's called like the XYZ family trust, and your bank account or your brokerage account is in your individual name, it's not in the trust.
It's not in the trust.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of the time, the other challenge where you have a family, and let's say you have a 401k, or pick a retirement plan, a 403b or 401k, those actually have beneficiaries that you should have listed on there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it gets missed because, you know, typically somebody will put their spouse or their partner or something like that as the primary. And then what happens if they're both gone? There's never any contingents listed. And so people should really look at the contingent side. So it's hard with young kids because if you name them outright and they're minors, that becomes a challenge to administer. But then if you name a trust as your contingent, then it's like hard with retirement assets too. So it's like there's no real great fix for it.
Okay.
In my opinion, but
just review them.
Just review them.
Make sure it's actually accurate still with who you want to have there. I think that's the same thing of who you assign for your kids. Like you said, things change. You may be really close to someone at one point in your life and it changes. So you should be looking at it on a regular basis.
Yeah. And the one we see a lot of is, you know, with 401k plans or retirement plans with employers, they switch providers.
Yes.
A lot of the time. Or they get consolidated. So like you're with this provider and then all of a sudden they get bought out and the new company comes in and takes over it. Well, the one thing that we've noticed is that sometimes and we've seen this with a lot of plans, those like beneficiaries that you had filled out and signed and given to the previous one, somehow got lost in the
in the transition?
in the shuffle of combining the two companies.
Huh.
So like that one's scary to me because you would just assume, hey, you're going to take over the same document system that you had there and like make it, and then you call them up and they're like, we don't have anything on file.
Yeah,
Like,
that's kind of crazy.
like
Actually, I didn't know that was like a common thing. Another common thing that we hear about too is a lot of times, not Brian and I, because we've been at our firms for a very long time, but a lot of times people will forget about their old 401ks when they move jobs too. I can't tell you how many discovery calls I've done in my career where people are like, oh, I just realized that I had money here and here and here because they switched jobs so much.
Yeah.
That's very common these days. And if you don't roll it over, then your money just stays where it's at.
It stays where it's at until they send you a notice saying you haven't been an employee for 10 years and we're not paying the fees anymore.
Yeah. So like that's another thing you need to kind of keep track of is make sure you're rolling those 401ks over into your current employer or into an IRA. So I think that's another big one that I've personally seen.
So let's talk about complexity.
Oh gosh.
So, right? So like, you know, like life does get more complex or different things come into play that get more complex. If you're in your 30s and 40s starting to build wealth, build a family, let's say, it doesn't have to be one or the other or both at the same time, but you're doing that.
Uh-huh.
What sort of things come into play that people generally miss? Like in your conversations with people that are not in this industry, what do you usually kind of like hear as questions? Like, do they know how to budget? Do they know how to save? Like,
no, I'm actually
really?
very surprised by most of it.
Okay.
I'm like, things that I think are basic, like you said, budgeting, making sure you're maximizing out your 401k, saving, like we have a goal of saving for our kids' college, like putting a piece of money aside for that. Like, honestly, I think it's actually most people do not know what, like the basics of what we would tell our clients.
Got it. Okay. So, but like, even with the complexity, it's like you have all your time going to either your career's taking off and you're getting more responsibility and you're getting super busy there. Like, it's easy for this stuff to like fall through the cracks.
Yeah. You just don't make the time for it and you don't make it a priority. And it's like, oh, we can get to that at some point. But at some point, something can happen in your life that could be catastrophic. Around to it. So Brian showing us a little coaster.
Yeah,
called.
we have these little coasters here that they're round, but then they just put the words "to it" on it, and it's like I'll get around to it, and it never happens.
It never happens. So if you don't have a system in place to review and to plan and to have those regular conversations, like it could become an issue because something could happen in your life that you weren't expecting and then it's not ready and you're not prepared. I think life insurance is a good example of that, actually. Like, there's different opinions about life insurance.
Right.
But I think if you don't have that protection for your family, if you do have kids or you have a spouse, maybe you don't even have kids, but you own a house and there's no way your spouse could pay the mortgage on the home.
Yeah.
Like, I think those are the things you need to think about. Like, no one wants to think about that. That's, I think, a lot of times why people avoid it. No one wants to think about you not being here with your kids. That's why they don't do the estate plan, or they don't want to think about you not being here. Like, and so, the financial support of life insurance.
Yeah. Somebody once told me, I don't want to talk about that because I feel like it's going to jinx me.
Oh, geez.
And I started laughing. I was like, that's actually a good answer. I mean, it was funny to me. But,
yeah. I don't think it's not funny, actually.
Like, I don't want to talk about that because then something will happen. And I'm like, that's superstitious. But,
that is superstitious, but I feel like you're doing your family, doing your family not to the best of their ability. So I think it's really important to like have those conversations, like have a plan in place. I know there's different opinions about life insurance too, Brian. Like, I know we have a pretty big stance on this. Can you tell us a little bit about what you usually suggest for people, in their 30s and 40s?
So it depends on what we always say liabilities, but then people go, well, what's a liability? And I'm like,
yeah, what is a liability?
I'm personally a liability everywhere. But no, like when you say liabilities, think of what money do you owe? And typically like the number one thing that people owe money on is a home, a mortgage. Like that's a debt. It's a good debt most of the time, but that's a liability that if you weren't around to earn the income to pay that, somebody else might have to or be in a position to force sell the property. That would be one liability. The other is you might If you think about it, I call kids liabilities, and my kids will never listen to this. And if they do, it'll probably be to laugh at me. But in a way, like you're providing money to support them. And if that money stream goes away, what's going to support them? And so you look at them as liabilities because there's future payments that are going to have to go out to cover them or to take care of them. So typically what I look at is, okay, how much mortgage debt do you have outstanding? Hopefully you're not racking up credit card debt too, because that's a whole different, that's not good debt to have. I get some people get into situations where they get forced to do that, and it's not great. But let's just look at how much mortgage do you have outstanding, and then also look at the age and other financial assets that they have. So somebody with $10 million at 30, 10 million liquid at 30, who might need $150,000 a year to live or to cover their liabilities, they probably aren't going to need insurance unless they don't want that money that they have set aside have to get touched. So if it's invested in a lot of things and they don't want it to get sold because of that, they might have some level of insurance to just cover the first few years so that those savings or those investments have time to be properly liquidated over time. So that might be one answer. The other thing that people forget about is their income stream that they're hopefully going to earn over the period of time. So if you're younger, you have this bigger lifetime income stream that you have to probably insure, or at least insure for a portion of time.
Yeah.
Right. Like typically you will say like, hey, for a spouse, like you got to look at the affordability too, because it's all within budget.
Yeah.
You can overinsure and have that peace of mind, but at the same time, your premium's so vast that you're sitting there going, I have no money left at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you have to look at your budget, but typically trying to insure earnings for 5 or 10 years at a minimum.
Okay.
A common one, I'll just keep the numbers just like simple and round, but $100,000 a year income stream. If you want to make sure that lasts for 10 years, it's $1 million $1 million term life insurance type policy. It's cheap insurance, but it'll at least give you that coverage. Plus you would want to tack on potentially any debt you have outstanding.
Obviously, you talked a little bit about life insurance. Something that I feel like a lot of people don't understand is umbrella policies. And I feel like that's something when I'm doing discovery calls, like people that are very, very successful don't know what that is. Like, tell us like what that is and why it's so important.
So an umbrella policy, if you can't afford an umbrella in the rain, you buy this and it insures you. Yeah.
Says the Arizona and Californian here.
If you live in a drought area, you don't need umbrella insurance. I'm kidding. So think of it, these terms get used in the insurance industry, and a lot of the time people don't realize it's insurance that typically when you go and get homeowners or renters insurance and auto insurance, it's like if you have a really good insurance agent that's paying attention, typically like they will bring up the idea of this umbrella policy. And I'm going to get to what it is in a second, but the other aspect of it is a lot of the stuff that I just mean the Royal, we buy auto insurance online, right? So like you could use
royally,
right. No, but like how easy is it to go onto like Geico and buy auto insurance? Like quickly, I bought a car, I got to do this, I got to get auto insurance. Yeah. Like it's like 10 minutes or less, right?
Uh-huh.
And all the system is doing is trying to fill in the coverages you want and try to give you the lowest premium possible because they know they're competing with thousands of potential insurance providers. A lot of the time, the umbrella part just gets missed because it's never talked about. Mm-hmm. But think of it this way. So you have your auto insurance and there's injury and liability line item on there. There's a certain amount of dollars that's set aside on your policy. You can stagger it up, stagger it down, depending on what kind of premium you want. But a lot of time there's this liability coverage max that the insurer will pay if you're at fault. Mm-hmm. Same on your home. There's a liability portion there. So if somebody gets injured on your property, the max that policy will pay will be a set amount. Typically, like the highest you see those go, like on average, 500,000. A lot of the time you'll see them for 300,000. And if you think about it, a lot of lawsuits are way more than that.
Right.
So what this umbrella does is it literally sits as an umbrella on top of your homeowners or renters and your auto insurance. And so if you think about it, if you're starting to earn a lot more money, you're in a high profile job potentially, you're making
You have kids jumping on trampolines in your backyard
or a pool or something like that. And then something bad happens and they're like, oh, Kelly works at Halbert Hargrove. She's got to be doing well. Like, let's sue her,
Yeah.
And then you get to your homeowner's policy and they're like, it's 500,000, but we know she has an income stream we could try to go after too. The umbrella provides a much larger liability coverage for those homeowner, renters, insurance types things, and your auto. So if you get in a really bad accident that you caused and you breach that liability coverage that you have in that, the umbrella kicks in. And it's really cheap insurance typically. Like $1 million or $2 million, you're on average paying under $1,000 a year for it. And so like if you do have these like attractive nuisances, as we call them, like trampolines, trampolines or a chihuahua or
pigs,
a pig, a pool, like you start tacking on things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Like the umbrella insurance is a good thing to ask your insurance provider about and just say, what can I get? And a lot of the time they won't write them for really large amounts. You'll have to go to a specialty insurer. Like if you need 10 million of umbrella, they're going to go, what are you doing that's going to cause that risk? But typically a $1 or $2 million policy, like at a minimum, is cheap to do and to tack on to what you already have. So I'm still with you. Like, honestly, CFP program, here it is. That's the first time I ever learned about umbrella insurance.
Huh.
Never heard of it before. And we have some bad stories where people like typical, like a car accident or something, they know the person, like I mean, nowadays you can find anything on anybody, like where they work, where they live, like what's the homework. They like know like within 10 seconds what you have.
Yeah.
And the umbrella stuff is even more crucial now.
Yeah.
Like it's not just because you have your house and your personal trust and all that, you're not protected.
Right.
Like the trust doesn't, like a traditional revocable trust doesn't really protect you from lawsuits. So it's just a good idea to have one of those things on there. But that's typically one that gets missed.
Yeah. I'm actually shocked. We talk to clients that are worth millions and they don't know what that is and have done a good job of saving and staying disciplined, but they're missing that piece. And we're educating them during.
Well, when was the last time you saw a TV commercial about umbrella insurance or a radio ad or a billboard?
It's not out there.
It's not out there.
Yeah.
It's like, here's your home and auto.
This is like our inside baseball information.
Yeah. I don't know why the insurance industry has not pushed those harder.
Right.
But typically in like a lawsuit, if you do have an umbrella, like a decent one, like at least what we've seen, like in the unfortunate circumstances where there is some fault and there is a lawsuit that comes because of an injury or something you caused or your property caused, typically what you see happen is the lawsuit that goes in matches the umbrella. It's kind of like dirty.
Oh, that is a little.
They're like, oh, we know you have a $3 million umbrella. We're suing for $3 million. Like, it's kind of like, because they know the insurers will pay.
Yeah.
At least that's been our experience. Somebody that's listening to this might argue with me, but at least from what we've seen real world is they are going to look for what your level of insurances are and sue for those. And if you're underinsured, they're going to start looking for other things.
Huh.
So it's just good to have them. They're a good safety net because when you get into trouble, you get the insurance company's army of attorneys to defend their money that they're on the hook for now.
Yeah.
Versus having to deal with your own.
So if you're in your 30s and 40s, I think we gave quite a few tips for you to think about. I think one thing that I do pretty regularly, review 401k allocations, make sure we're maximizing them. Don't be afraid of having those hard conversations. The estate plan, I know people don't want to talk about it. Same with life insurance, but those are like key pillars of what we tell people to do to be successful in their future. Anything else, Brian, that we're missing?
You forgot one important thing.
Oh, let's hear it.
Your kids are liabilities. Don't forget them. They're with the mortgage kind of over here. No, that's those are the basics. And if you're hearing all of this for the first time and you're like, I got to go start doing this, like the best way to do it is in chunks. Like to try to do all of this at once is going to be overwhelming and you're going to like probably burn out. So pick the one that's most important. Like you probably have auto insurance, you probably have homeowners. you could probably get an umbrella in 15 minutes or less. That was a commercial right there, right? I should work for Geico or pick one. But you probably could get one pretty quickly, and that's not going to take a lot of time. Like, check the box, move from there. The estate plan might be a little bit more difficult and time consuming. The 401k probably should just be front and foremost because it's where you're saving most likely the heaviest at this point.
Yeah. And if you're not saving in there, that is the most critical piece. I learned that early on in my career, the compounding that you guys have taught me about is making sure you start as early as you can and try and put as much as you can in there. I think that has been the biggest thing that has been a winner for us. Savings for our future is save as much as you can as early as you can.
I always tell people the first 10 years feels like you're crawling through mud.
It really does.
It feels like you're crawling through mud. Like you're putting money in and like, okay.
Like, oh, goody. If the I don't see very much in there.
I always like you liken it. It's like, okay, let's say like round numbers once again. Let's say you put $5,000 into the 401k and that year, because you invested in stocks, it went up 10%. And you're like, great, $500 is really going to last me a long time, you know? But the more and more that you build that base, like we've gotten to the point now because you've been doing it for 20 plus years.
Almost 20 years now.
Right. So you now have a base built up that when your portfolio goes up 10%, let's say, that a lot of the time is more than you can actually contribute in a single year. And that's when the compounding really starts to take effect, is your portfolio, the money in there, starts working harder than the maximum amount you're allowed to put into it.
Well, and every year the maximum seems to be going up too.
Yeah.
So you have to keep an eye on that too.
Oh yeah, and they don't change it for you.
Yeah,
if you want to max and you didn't do any, like if you started maxing 10 years ago and you never made a decision, good chances they weren't maxing.
They were not maxing you. Yeah. So you have to change it every year. I know my husband has to go in manually and update it.
And he complains. He's like, Kelly, quit bothering me.
Pretty much, Brian.
He's probably like me. He's like, oh, her calendar reminder came up again.
Yeah, but I think Brian's right. Take it in bite size. Maybe you have a quarterly task for one of these items that you handle on a quarterly basis. So you do your estate plan at first quarter. You do your insurance review the next quarter. Obviously, that's something that we help our clients do. But if you're doing it on your own, you're a do-it-yourselfer, you're still building up your wealth, then that's a good way to manage it.
Yeah, and if you're doing it yourself and you're more like online, that's more of where you like to operate. There's a lot of resources now that didn't exist when we started in this business. Like there's a lot of resources out there that are simple, that tell you what you need and how to size it and go from there if you really don't want to talk to somebody about it. So there's good opportunities now, and it's getting better. I mean, fintech is helping this. So hopefully more people will learn about umbrellas and things like that.
So if you are interested in hearing more about part 2 or what to do in your 30s and 40s, check us out at Fearless Money Talks wherever you get your podcasts, or go to our website, halberthargrove.com.